Imagine for a moment that inside you there exists a huge force, a sleeping giant, capable of completely transforming your life. A giant that, if awakened, can give you energy, clarity, and courage to walk a path with meaning, abundance, and purpose. But at the same time, this giant often remains silent for years, hidden beneath layers of routine, fear, limiting beliefs, and modern distractions. This metaphor of the sleeping giant is not just poetic. It captures the essence of one of the most impactful books on personal development, Awaken Your Inner Giant by Tony Robbins. Published in the 1990s, this book has already transformed millions of lives around the world. Robbins, known for his contagious energy, his packed lectures, and his almost hypnotic presence, advocates a simple but powerful idea. The life you desire begins with the decisions you make today. Now pause for a few seconds and think, how many times have you wondered if you are truly living the life you want to live? How many times have you felt that something essential was missing, even when you seemingly had everything? Maybe a good job, a structured family, achievements that, in the eyes of others, should be enough, and yet, an emptiness. This feeling of incompleteness is exactly the meeting point between Tony Robbins' philosophy and the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai. Ikigai, which can be translated as reason for being or what makes life worth living, reminds us that it is not enough to just achieve external goals. You need to align four dimensions: what you love, what you do well, what the world needs, and what you can be rewarded for. When these four forces converge, Ikigai emerges, a full, harmonious life, rich in meaning. But here is the crucial question: how to awaken this inner strength to truly live Ikigai? How to break mental patterns that trap us in mediocrity, excuses, stagnation. This is where Robbins invites us to look inward and make decisions that change destinies. He shows us that the giant is not something external we need to conquer. The giant is already within us, waiting for a call. This call can come at unexpected moments, sometimes in a personal crisis when everything seems to fall apart, other times in a deep silence on a night when you simply realize, I can't live like this anymore. Robbins teaches that this moment, this turning point, is the opportunity to wake up the giant. Ikigai, in turn, shows where this giant should walk so as not to waste its strength on aimless paths. The power of this intersection is breathtaking. Robbins gives us the energy, motivation, and practical tools to act. Ikigai offers us the map, the north, the why. Energy without direction can lead to frustration. Direction without energy can lead to apathy. But when we combine the two, we awaken a giant who knows where to go and walks with lightness, awareness, and purpose. Throughout this video, we will explore this journey in detail. You will understand who Tony Robbins is and how his life has inspired millions. What are the fundamental principles of Awaken Your Inner Giant? How these principles can be practically applied in your daily life. And, most importantly, how they connect with the ancient philosophy of Ikigai to create an authentic life with purpose and fulfillment. Maybe you're here precisely because you feel that your life can be more. Maybe there is a calling within you to expand horizons, to break patterns, to find more energy, more clarity, more passion. And this calling is no coincidence. It is a sign that your inner giant is already beginning to move. It is important to remember, neither Tony Robbins nor the Ikigai philosophy offer magical solutions or shortcuts. What they offer is even more valuable, a way to look inward, take responsibility for your choices, and from there, create a meaningful life. Robbins insists that it is not external conditions that define your destiny, but internal decisions. Ikigai insists that not just any decision will do. It must be aligned with what truly makes your life worth living. And here, at this meeting point, true transformation is born. Imagine a life where you wake up every day with clarity, knowing why you are alive and what impact you want to make. A life where difficulties do not disappear, but gain meaning because they serve a greater purpose. A life where your actions are driven not only by necessity, but by passion. This is the life that Robbins and Ikigai invite us to build. A life where the awakened giant does not walk aimlessly, but moves in harmony with purpose. So, I invite you to stay with me until the end of this video, because this will not just be an analysis of a famous book or a Japanese philosophy. It will be a journey of self-discovery. It will be an invitation for you to awaken your inner giant and lead it to your Ikigai. Get ready. What you are about to hear may not only inspire, but also transform the way you see yourself, your choices, and your future. When we talk about Tony Robbins, we are not just talking about a best-selling author. We are witnessing a cultural phenomenon, a man who has become synonymous with energy, impact, and transformation. Anthony J. Mahaverick, his birth name, did not have an easy childhood. He grew up in a low-income family, amidst conflicts, instability, and challenges that could have served as excuses to give up. But on the contrary, these obstacles became the fuel that shaped his philosophy. No one needs to be a hostage to circumstances. Everyone can decide to rewrite their story. In his adolescence, Robbins went through moments of true scarcity, even working as a janitor to help support his family. It was in this context of difficulties that he found inspiration in self-development books, especially the works of Jim Rohn, his great mentor. From that encounter, Tony Robbins discovered that destiny is not something to be waited for, but something to be built, one brick at a time, based on the decisions we make. The shift in mindset completely changed his trajectory. Robbins went from a young man with few prospects to becoming, at a very young age, a sought-after speaker, someone who knew how to translate concepts of psychology, philosophy, and motivation into accessible and powerful practices. His deep voice, impressive stature, and explosive energy became his trademarks. He not only spoke about transformation, he made people experience it in real time at his events. It was in this atmosphere that the book Awaken the Giant Within was born in 1991. The work quickly became a global reference in the field of self-development. Unlike superficial self-help manuals, Robbins proposes a deep dive into the fundamentals of personal change. The book teaches, in a practical way, how to take control of emotions, beliefs, values, and above all, the decisions that steer life. Tony Robbins structures his work around some fundamental pillars. They are like keys that unlock internal doors. Robbins states, "It is the moments of decision that shape our destiny." This seemingly simple idea is revolutionary. Many people believe that their lives are determined by external circumstances, the family they were born into, the opportunities they had, the limitations they faced. Robbins, however, challenges this view. Although we cannot control everything, we can always decide how to respond, what meaning to assign, and which direction to take. Beliefs are internal maps. Some guide us to places of expansion, others imprison us in cycles of pain. Robbins shows that changing a limiting belief can transform a person's entire life. And this change does not require decades of reflection, but rather awareness and decision. The way we speak, both to others and internally, shapes our emotions and our states of mind. Replacing negative words with empowering expressions can radically change the daily experience. Robbins also invites us to identify our core values as they guide our deepest choices. When we live out of alignment with what we value most, we experience frustration. When we align ourselves, we find satisfaction and meaning. Ultimately, everything connects to how we perceive ourselves. Identity is the story we tell about ourselves, and Robbins states that we can rewrite this story at any time, creating a new identity that propels us toward the life we desire. These pillars are not theoretical concepts. Robbins's great advantage is practical applicability. He doesn't write for the reader to just reflect. He writes for the reader to act. Exercises, provocative questions, and concrete practices permeate the book, turning it into a true life manual. And here begins the natural dialogue with Ikigai. While Robbins talks about decisions, beliefs, and values, the Japanese Ikigai speaks of alignment between passion, talent, the world's needs, and reward. Both start from different premises. Robbins with his Western pragmatic energy, and Ikigai with its Eastern contemplative serenity. But when placed side by side, they reveal an extraordinary complementarity. For example, Robbins insists that decisions shape destinies. Ikigai shows that these decisions need to be made within a context of meaning. Robbins tells us that we should reframe limiting beliefs. Ikigai invites us to replace pessimism with the beauty of simplicity in everyday life. Robbins talks about aligning values. Ikigai translates this into living each day according to what makes our life worthwhile. This intersection is so powerful because it balances action and contemplation. Robbins urges us to act, to break inertia, to awaken the energy that is already within us. Ikigai reminds us that this energy needs direction, a higher reason to sustain the path. Robbins gives us the spark, Ikigai, the map. It is also worth remembering that Robbins is a product of his time. The 1990s were a period of cultural effervescence where ideas of self-development gained space. While the West turned to coaches, psychologists, and motivational writers, the East preserved its ancient philosophical traditions. Today, by combining Robbins and Ikigai, we create a bridge between two worlds. On one side, we have the pragmatic energy of do it now, which gives us immediate power to change. On the other, we have the contemplative patience of discover your path, which ensures longevity and coherence. And isn't that exactly what we need in our time? A life where action and purpose walk together? This bridge is what this script aims to explore. Throughout the upcoming chapters, we will analyze each of Robbins' pillars, always relating them to the principles of Ikigai. Thus, the viewer will not only understand what it means to awaken the inner giant, but also discover how to direct that giant toward a path of purpose and harmony. Tony Robbins often repeats a phrase that has become a kind of signature of his philosophy. It is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. This statement, so simple and at the same time so profound, brings about a radical shift in perspective. Robbins reminds us that life is not only shaped by the conditions into which we are born, nor by the external circumstances we face. What truly defines our journey are the choices we make in the face of these conditions. Decisions shape destinies. Think about your own life for a moment. How many decisions have you made that radically changed the course of your story? Perhaps choosing a profession, a relationship, a city to live in. Sometimes even small decisions, accepting an invitation, reading a book, starting a course, open doors we never would have imagined. Robbins insists that each person has at every moment the power to choose, and not just to choose between coffee or tea, but to choose the meaning they assign to each experience, to choose the attitude in the face of adversity, to choose where to put energy. This awareness restores each of us the control over our own lives. But here arises an essential question: where to decide? If decisions shape destinies, we need to ensure that we are choosing a destiny that is truly worth it. This is where Ikigai comes in. Ikigai invites us to look at 4 dimensions: what you love, what you do well, what the world needs, what can provide you with sustenance. Unpurposeful decisions can lead us down paths of frustration. How many people choose careers that make money but do not bring passion, or choose solely for immediate pleasure but without long-term sustainability? Ikigai helps us align these dimensions, offering a map that ensures the decisions we make today bring us closer to a fulfilling life. Tony Robbins talks about clarity as one of the secrets of personal power. Ikigai offers exactly that clarity. It shows us that it's not enough to decide to act. We must decide to act in the right direction. The moment of decision as a turning point. Imagine someone stuck in a job they hate. Every day, they wake up without energy, live in anticipation of Friday, and feel their life is being wasted. This person might wait years for circumstances to change, for the company to offer better conditions, for a different boss to appear, for the market to improve. But Robbins would say, nothing changes until you decide to change. Ikigai in turn would ask what to change for. What is the passion that beats within you? What skill can serve the world? How to turn this into something sustainable? This reflection turns the decision into a conscious act, not just an escape from discomfort. Thus, Robbins provides the strength of action, the impulse. Ikigai gives the direction, the meaning. Practical exercise, 3 decisions that can change your life today. To make this concrete, Robbins suggests that each person reflect on 3 decisions capable of radically transforming their life. Let's adapt them in light of Ikigai. Decide what you will no longer accept. Perhaps it's a lack of energy, toxic relationships, or a career without purpose. Here, Ikigai helps discern what does not resonate with your essence. Decide what you truly want for your life. What passions do you want to cultivate? What impact do you wish to make in the world? Here, the Ikigai diagram helps visualize this north. Decide to act immediately toward this. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the first step now. Robbins states that action creates momentum. Ikigai ensures that this momentum is well directed. Another crucial point is realizing that not only big choices shape destinies, daily micro-decisions also build our lives. The decision to get up early, meditate, study, take care of health, nurture relationships. These are small acts that, when accumulated, create an extraordinary life. Ikigai reminds us that a life with purpose is not made only of great achievements, but of the sum of small daily gestures that reflect love, competence, usefulness, and sustainability. Robbins adds, every small decision strengthens or weakens the inner giant. One of the most transformative aspects of Robbins's philosophy is the idea that we can change the narrative of our lives at any moment. He shares countless stories of people who, by deciding to break free from past patterns, created completely different futures. This idea resonates deeply with the Japanese concept of Kaizen, continuous improvement, one step at a time. When we align Robbins and Ikigai, we realize that we don't need to wait for a revolution to awaken the inner giant. We just need to decide today to take steps that bring us closer to a meaningful life. Now, take a deep breath and reflect. What have been the three most important decisions of your life so far? What are you deciding now, even unconsciously, that is shaping your future? What three new decisions can you make today that bring you closer to your Ikigai? Maybe it's the decision to take care of your health, to invest in an old dream, to forgive someone, to end a cycle that no longer makes sense. The most important thing is to remember that every decision is a seed, and like any seed, it needs care, patience, and direction to flourish. Robbins shows us that power lies in deciding. Ikigai shows us that true fulfillment is in deciding with purpose. When we combine the two, we create a powerful equation. Decision plus purpose equals real power. This power is not the power to control everything around us, but the power to create a conscious, authentic life that is consistent with who we truly are. Tony Robbins teaches that what truly governs our lives are not events, but the beliefs we assign to those events. He states, "Beliefs have the power to create and the power to destroy. Human beings have the incredible ability to take any experience in their lives and give it a meaning that weakens them, or a meaning that literally saves them." This idea is central to awaken your inner giant. What are beliefs? Beliefs are like invisible lenses through which we interpret the world. We do not see reality as it is, but rather as we believe it to be. If a person believes that I am not capable of learning something new, that belief will determine how they behave in the face of challenges, regardless of their actual abilities. There are beliefs that empower. I am capable of learning anything if I dedicate myself. And beliefs that imprison. I will never be good enough. Robbins insists that to awaken the inner giant, we need to identify and transform the beliefs that limit us. The Japanese Ikigai also recognizes the power of internal states. Living with purpose requires looking inward and cultivating an open, curious mindset that allows us to flourish in everyday life. In Eastern tradition, especially Zen, the beginner's mind is discussed. This is the attitude of someone who remains always open to learning, without letting rigid beliefs hinder growth. While Robbins talks about limiting beliefs and empowering beliefs, Ikigai invites us to replace a hardened outlook with the fluidity of a constant learner. Thus, both point in the same direction. We need to free ourselves from the internal stories that keep us small and create new narratives that support our purpose. Examples of limiting beliefs. It's too late to change. I don't have enough talent. The world doesn't need what I know how to do. If I follow my passion, I will fail financially. Now, let's see how these beliefs directly impact Ikigai. If I believe it's too late, I never seek to align my passions. If I think I lack talent, I ignore my skills. If I believe the world doesn't need me, I lose the sense of contribution. If I fear financial failure, I never turn purpose into livelihood. Do you see how distorted beliefs can block each of the 4 circles of Ikigai? Reframing beliefs. Robbins teaches us that it's not enough to identify limiting beliefs, we must reframe them. This doesn't mean living in illusions, but choosing more empowering perspectives. Instead of, it's too late to change, we can affirm, every phase of life is fertile for a new blossoming. Instead of, I don't have enough talent, talent is built through consistent practice and dedication. Instead of, the world doesn't need me, there is always someone who can be touched by what only I can offer. Instead of, I will fail financially, I can learn to turn purpose into sustenance, step by step. This linguistic change, advocated by Robbins, is also a spiritual practice in the East, the art of naming reality differently. When we change the language, we change the internal state. Robbins presents the cycle. Belief leads to potential, which leads to action, which provokes a result, and this result promotes reinforcement of the belief. If I believe I am not capable, I do not use my full potential. Therefore, I act in a limited way. The result is weak, and this reinforces the initial belief. But if I choose to believe I can learn, I access more of my potential, act with more determination, achieve better results, and this reinforces the positive belief. Ikigai enters this cycle as the north that gives coherence to beliefs. It's not enough to believe I can change. I need to believe that I am changing toward what truly matters. Shall we do a practical exercise called belief inventory? Write down 3 beliefs you have about yourself. Ask, does this belief strengthen me or imprison me? If it is limiting, rewrite it into an empowering version aligned with your Ikigai. Example, belief, I am not good at communicating. Reframing, I can learn to communicate better every day, and my voice is important to the world. Basically, beliefs are stories. Robbins insists that we can change the narrative of our lives. Ikigai expands on this. The narrative should not be just any story, but a life story worth living, a story of contribution, joy, and authenticity. That's why it's so important to cultivate what Robbins calls a strengthening identity. When I start to believe that I am someone who lives with purpose, I begin to act accordingly, and the world responds in harmony. Another interesting point is to realize that beliefs are not only individual, entire cultures are shaped by collective beliefs. Robbins talks a lot about how people follow social patterns without questioning. Japanese Ikigai, on the other hand, was born precisely in a culture that values community, longevity, and social contribution. This invites us to reflect. What beliefs has our society taught us about success, happiness, aging, and purpose? Do we not carry collective beliefs that prevent us from living our true Ikigai? The most inspiring thing is that, according to Robbins, changing beliefs does not need to take decades. It can happen in an instant, at the moment we decide to no longer accept a limiting narrative. Ikigai then gives consistency to this transformation, helping to build an entire life on beliefs that support fulfillment. Tony Robbins repeats an idea that seems simple, but radically changes our relationship with life. It's not the events that control how we feel, but the meaning we assign to them. This meaning is primarily conveyed through the language we use. The way we name our experiences can imprison us in negative states or free us into empowering ones. For Robbins, emotions are compasses. They signal where we are and where we can go. However, many of us have been conditioned to fear or reject certain emotions, such as anger, sadness, and fear. The problem is that when we deny an emotion, it doesn't disappear. It simply accumulates and controls us unconsciously. Robbins proposes a different path. Instead of fleeing from emotions, we should use them as energy. Fear, for example, can be the impulse to prepare ourselves better. Sadness can invite us to introspection and realignment with our values. Anger can be transformed into determination. In Ikigai, emotions are also not seen as enemies. On the contrary, they are expressions of life in motion. The Japanese philosophy values the acceptance of impermanence, wabi-sabi, reminding us that even painful emotions are part of the beauty of existence. Thus, while Robbins teaches us to generate powerful emotional states, Ikigai reminds us that even fragile or subtle emotions can guide us toward a meaningful life. Robbins shows us that the way we describe our experiences completely transforms how we feel them. For example, if I say, I am devastated, my body reacts heavily. If I say I'm a little disappointed, the emotional impact is less. If I say I'm learning from this situation, I create a state of resilience. He calls this transforming vocabulary. Ikigai offers a similar practice, re-signifying everyday life through contemplation. In Japanese tradition, there is the concept of mono no aware, the awareness of life's fleeting beauty. When we change our language, we begin to see even difficult moments as part of a broader and more meaningful path. Tony Robbins teaches that our emotional states are shaped by three factors which he calls the tripé: physiology, how we use our body; posture, breathing, physical energy; focus, where we direct our attention; language, the words we use to describe our experience. When we change any of these dimensions, we change our emotional state. For example, if I am feeling down, breathe shallowly and repeat, "I can't." My state is one of helplessness. But if I adjust my posture, take a deep breath, and say, "I can learn," my body and mind enter a different level of energy. Ikigai connects to this because it reminds us that internal states are not just for feeling good in the moment. They should be aligned with the greater purpose. It is possible to feel energy and joy even in simple tasks, as long as we realize they are part of something bigger, our reason for living. Practical exercise, re-signification of emotions. Identify a negative emotion you have been feeling frequently. Ask, what meaning am I giving to this emotion? Reframe it with different language. Example, from "I am anxious" to "I am energized and preparing for something important." Connect with your Ikigai. How can this emotion bring me closer to what I love, what I do well, what the world needs, and what sustains me? Robbins likes to say that emotion is energy in motion, emotion. Ikigai complements this, that energy should be directed toward what gives life meaning. There's no use cultivating powerful states just to achieve superficial goals. True awakening happens when we use empowering emotions to live a life aligned with our deepest values. Perhaps the greatest lesson lies in balancing two seemingly opposing approaches. Robbins, with his Western intensity, teaches us to generate states of power, confidence, and immediate action. Ikigai, with its Eastern serenity, teaches us to embrace simplicity, accept impermanence, and find beauty even in fragility. When we combine the two, we realize that we can live in powerful emotional states without losing delicacy, contemplation, and gratitude for everyday life. Now, reflect. What words do you use to describe your life today? Do these words weaken or strengthen you? How can you change your language to move closer to a state more aligned with your Ikigai? Perhaps replacing "my life is a struggle" with "my life is a learning journey" is the first step to waking up with more ease tomorrow. Tony Robbins states that values are the invisible force guiding all our decisions. Often, we are not consciously aware of it, but it is always a set of values that determines why we choose one path over another. He says, when your values are clear to you, making decisions becomes easier. This phrase summarizes one of the greatest sources of human frustration, living in dissonance between what we value and what we practice, the value system according to Tony Robbins. In the book, Awaken the Giant Within, Robbins explains that each person carries a hierarchy of values. Some are guiding values, things we seek, such as freedom, love, security, success, growth. Others are distancing values, things we avoid, such as rejection, failure, pain, loneliness. The problem is that often our value hierarchies come into conflict. A person may value freedom, but also value security. When these values compete, dilemmas arise. Do I choose a stable job that provides security or risk entrepreneurship to gain freedom? Robbins suggests that we consciously identify our values and reorganize them to serve the life we want to build. Here, Ikigai offers a brilliant contribution. The diagram of the four circles: what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what can sustain you, functions as a compass to align values with purpose. If I value freedom, my Ikigai should include activities that allow me to exercise it. If I value contribution, my Ikigai should connect me with the needs of the world. If I value growth, my Ikigai needs to constantly challenge me to evolve. Ikigai prevents us from living solely based on fragmented values, helping to harmonize them within a larger narrative, the reason for being. Imagine someone whose number one value is family, but who spends 14 hours a day at a job that keeps them away from their children. This person, no matter how much financial success they achieve, will feel a deep frustration. Or think of someone whose highest value is creativity, but who stays in a repetitive job just for security. This person will feel suffocated, even if they have stability. Robbins reminds us that unhappiness is a sign of misaligned values. Ikigai expands. It's not enough to align values internally. They must be in tune with what the world needs and what can sustain us. Practical exercise: your hierarchy of values. List 5 of the most important values in your life. Examples: freedom, love, growth, contribution, stability. Rank them in order of priority. Ask, does my current life reflect this hierarchy? If not, what do I need to change so that my decisions align with my values? In addition to values, Robbins talks about identity. He explains that each person lives according to the story they tell about themselves. If the identity is, I am a survivor, life will be lived in struggle. If the identity is, I am a creator, life will be lived in construction. He states, identity is the most powerful belief because it definitively determines what you can or cannot do. Ikigai directly relates to this. Our identity needs to be rooted in something beyond external circumstances. It should reflect the reason we exist. Example: I am not just a lawyer, but a human being who uses law to promote justice. I'm not just a doctor, but someone who uses medicine to alleviate suffering and give hope. This difference changes everything. When we combine Robbins' clarity of values with the Ikigai map, we have a powerful formula. Clear values aligned with Ikigai equal a coherent and fulfilling life. This means that it's not enough to chase external goals. True success is living a life where each daily action reflects what we value most. For example, we can cite the suffocated artist, where the core value is creativity. The reality is having a stable but repetitive job. The decision is to start a side artistic project, which gradually grows until it becomes your main source of income. And the result is the alignment between talent, passion, and livelihood. Another example is the exhausted executive. Her core value is family and balance. Her reality was working 70 hours a week. The decision was to redefine priorities, take on fewer projects, and seek a lighter routine. The result was renewed energy, time with her children, and a sense of coherence with her Ikigai. Robbins alert: many seek values without realizing they are disconnected from purpose. Some place material success as an absolute value, sacrificing health, relationships, and authenticity. Others value security so much that they stop taking risks and consequently stop growing. Ikigai reminds us that distorted values create a life without meaning. Money, for example, can be important, but it should serve what you love and what the world needs. Otherwise, it becomes just an empty end. Robbins teaches that it is not enough to reflect on values once in a lifetime. It is necessary to practice alignment daily. Ikigai reinforces, Each morning is an opportunity to live in harmony with purpose. Useful daily questions are: what I am about to do today reflects my most important values. Does this activity contribute to my Ikigai? Am I living according to who I truly am? Let's reflect on what we have learned. Take a deep breath and think, what are your 3 greatest values today? Are they present in your choices? How can you adjust your life, even in small steps, to align values, purpose, and action? This reflection is not just intellectual, it is an invitation to concrete transformation. Each choice, each routine, each project can be adjusted to reflect who you are at your core. Throughout this journey, we explored together the encounter between 2 transformative forces: the practical and contagious energy of Tony Robbins in Awaken Your Inner Giant, and the serene and ancient wisdom of Japanese Ikigai. From Robbins, we learn that decisions shape destinies. Beliefs can imprison or liberate us. Emotions, language, and internal states are keys to living powerfully. Our values and identity define life's coherence. From Ikigai, we learn that life only finds fulfillment when we align passion, talents, the needs of the world, and sustenance. Purpose is not in great achievements, but in the daily balance between what we love and what we offer to the world. Simplicity, acceptance of impermanence, and the pursuit of harmony are paths to a long and meaningful life. When we combine these 2 visions, we perceive something profound. The inner giant needs a map, and Ikigai is that map. Robbins gives us the energy to wake up, to break patterns, and to act. Ikigai shows us where this energy should be directed. Without action, purpose becomes just a dream. Without purpose, action becomes just empty movement. This fusion is powerful because it reminds us that living fully is not just about achieving goals, but about achieving the right goals, those that reflect who we are at our core. We can summarize the entire journey in 4 integrated steps. Decide. Robbins believes that decisions shape destinies. Ikigai guides us to decide in the direction that makes our lives worth living. Transform your beliefs. Robbins guides us to replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Ikigai teaches us to cultivate the beginner's mind and the beauty of simplicity, cultivate powerful internal states. Robbins teaches that language, physiology, and focus shape emotions. Ikigai guides us to reframe everyday life and find purpose in the present. Align your values with Ikigai. Robbins advises living in accordance with your core values. Ikigai guides to unite love, talent, contribution, and sustenance in one life. Now the question is no longer whether you have an inner giant, it's already there. The question is, when will you awaken it? And even more importantly, where will you lead it? Perhaps today is the moment to make that decision you've been postponing, to break free from a cycle that no longer serves you, to start something new that reflects who you are. Maybe it's time to look at your Ikigai and take the first step toward it. Take a deep breath. Think about your life now. What decisions can you make today that bring you closer to your purpose? What beliefs do you need to reframe to unleash your inner strength? What new words can you use to describe your story? Are your values reflected in your daily life? Remember, you don't need to change everything at once. A small step taken with clarity and purpose is worth more than years of waiting. The giant is not outside, the giant is inside you, and Ikigai is the map that shows the direction. When these 2 meet, an extraordinary life is born, a life in which you wake up not just for another day, but for another opportunity to live your reason for being. If this message touched you, if somehow you felt your giant starting to move, I invite you to reflect. What is your Ikigai? Write in the comments, share your decisions, inspire others who, like you, are seeking meaning and purpose. And if this content made a difference like this video, share it with someone who needs to awaken their own giant, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey of self-discovery and purpose together. Because here at Ikigai channel, we believe that every human being carries within themselves an immense power, and that life only becomes full when this power moves toward your true purpose. We leave in the description the link to the book we discussed today. See you in the next video.